Hello, folks. Welcome to Walking Digital Corridors, the podcast where we explore the intersection of B2B sales and digital innovation, helping professionals build authentic connections in the digital space. So I'm Alex Abbott, or otherwise known as the Bearded Sales Guy. Alongside hosting this podcast, I'm also a proud co-founder of the social enablement platform Critical Convo and founder of Sapiro and the conversation operating system. But enough about me. Let's focus on how we bring more value to your day by learning from the best in the business. How about that for an opening? Jensen.
Hello.
Introduce yourself.
Yes. Well, I was taken back a little bit by the introduction. So yeah, I know the best in the business. And I was yeah. Looking over my shoulder there thinking, really? No, look, hi all, Jensen Abbott, Senior BDR here at Content.ai. Pleasure to be here today. It's been a couple of weeks that I think I've missed it, whether that's just me traveling or being mega busy, but really happy, really excited to be back, really excited for today's guest. So, let's get it underway.
Cool. Brilliant. Hello, everyone. Jordan Abbott, also known as the Sales Poet. Don't know how much longer I can keep calling myself that without actually releasing another rap. But there's a few on the back burner coming along. I'm a business development manager at the Institute of Sales Professionals. Gents, just got to say, you set up, it looks like you know what you're doing, and you look like a bit of an influencer with the lighting in the background. Good.
This is the first time I've tried it, mate, in all honesty. First time.
Looking good. So, without further ado, I'm thrilled to have a special guest with us today, Stephen Morell, the founder of Teamfluence. Stephen is a visionary in the world of B2B social selling, helping sales teams transform the way they connect, engage, and build relationships on social. Through Teamfluence, Stephen empowers teams to move beyond traditional outreach and use their personal brands to generate genuine trust and credibility with their networks. With a focus on authenticity and creating influence in every interaction, Stephen's approach aligns perfectly with the new era of social selling. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Great to have you on. So let's kick things off with telling our viewers a little bit about you, your background, your journey into social selling, and how you came to found Teamfluence.
Oh, I love that question because sometimes I wonder, how did I end up explaining people how to do LinkedIn? That was never my plan. I have a background, in a former life, I was an advertisement man, Madison Avenue, New York, BBDO, Saatchi & Saatchi, this type of thing. And then the internet came around and my hobby skill, coding and being a software developer, suddenly was in demand. And I became a full stack software developer. And at some point I had the need to sell my products. So back you go to marketing and sales. Once you switch to the dark side, you guys know that you guys got to figure this out. Alex knows that. Once you're on the dark side, you stay there. So for the last 25 years or so, I've been in go-to-market sales and marketing. Quit my job about 2.5 years ago. Again, founded a startup. And this time around, it was weird because I know that I have to look for product market fit and validation. And I had a validation and people signing up, but there was no willingness to pay. We were burning through my savings, 6 people at the time. And I was going nuts. I was posting on LinkedIn every day, trying to find message market fit. If I can only explain that better, if I can only put more emphasis on the value, people will eventually find budget for my product. So I'm sharing that post with my team on Slack and go like, hey team, please, I posted this matters, give it some love. We have 6 people. I pay them We are burning through my savings. I'm just saying that. And I check back in the afternoon, and it has like 2 likes from my team. And I think to myself, you little bastards, I'm paying you. How did I not explain that well? So,
You can at least get 6 likes.
that anything I do should have 6 likes, right? I would think to myself, I can snap a picture of my butt and post it. Should have 6 likes, and some good comments, please. So anyway, I thought it's not their fault. It's my fault because I'm not managing it, and I cannot manage it because I don't see it. I don't know whether have they been on LinkedIn today. What is LinkedIn for them? Like when I post, I have at that time I had 7,000 followers. So when I post, I get feedback. When they post, they have 243. Nobody responds. For them, it's a place where they keep their digital CV, and whenever they post, they think it's going on their CV. Oh my God, I'm never gonna get a job again because I posted something silly. So I realized we cannot. I'm playing this in single player mode, and we cannot play it as a team sport, because we cannot measure it and we cannot see it. So back to square zero. Remember, I'm a full stack developer. So I'm sitting down that night and I'm writing a little browser extension. And that's a simple thing. It goes to LinkedIn/dashboard, grabs the 4 vital metrics, followers, profile visits, impressions, and search appearances, stores it in a database. And then I created a little dashboard, called the team in over a Zoom call and said, look, this is us on LinkedIn. This is each of you with their followers and their impression. This is us together with our shared followers and shared impressions. Let's play this as a team sport. And it instantly clicked with them, and it changed heart and mind. And I also posted a screenshot of this in a Slack community. The same day, 4 or 5 people reached out and said, hey, Stephen, I saw your little neat LinkedIn dashboard. How do you do this? Can I have that too? And my answer was, well, yeah, sure. Let me email you this zip file, unpack it. Trust me, it's not a virus. I'll call you and step you through this. It was batshit crazy. Like the first 5 were batshit crazy. But before you know it, it was a standalone product. Fast forward 6 months, we have over 160 companies using it, over 800 B2B people using it. And remember, we are sitting in their browser. We can measure what they do, and we see what works and what doesn't. So, at some point we understood we are sitting here at top of tons of behavioral data that we can analyze and draw conclusions from. And based on this data, we started building, the first evidence-based social selling platform for B2B teams. And well, that's how I ended up explaining people how to do LinkedIn.
Yeah. And this has been the last couple of years.
That was, I think it's exactly a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, that we got the first paying customers.
Yeah.
That was about a year and a half ago. Then, suddenly it's, at some point somebody said, oh, this is awesome. How much do I owe you? What do you mean? Like money-wise? I said, I don't know. And then he went like, you have to know. Like I said, $99 for a year? And I thought, fine, how do I pay? I'll send you a Stripe link. And then that, bam, was the first, the revenue. And by now, well, a lot of more paying customers, and a lot have happened since then.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is, and a lot of things happen because we eat our own dog food. Like, let me just say this.
Or drink your own champagne.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. It depends on which country you're from.
Yeah.
Yeah. We scratch our own itch. I think there are a lot of ways to say this. I was sending in the beginning. I just kept doing what everybody else is doing. I was sending over 85,000 cold emails a month. I shut down everything like in May, June this year, because our pipeline was full, and it's not through brutal cold calling, cold mail. Nobody does that anymore. Well, in some cases you can still get away, but I don't know for how much longer. And we replaced it entirely, our pipeline with social selling motions.
Fantastic. Like we've all seen, we've been on our own social selling journey as a family for the last year.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
We've seen a lot of change. The boys have certainly been through their own inflection point from traditional to a more modern social selling approach. And it sounds like you've seen a lot change in just the last 12 to 18 months. But what would you say has been the biggest shift in how social sellers are engaging with their audience today?
I think that the one big shift, and it's not only social selling, I think it's in go-to-market in general, is that things that were working fantastically and whole, billion-dollar businesses were built on this, kind of stopped working after the COVID pandemic. Mm-hmm. I think this is how I try to explain this to myself. During COVID, all the non-digital companies had to become digital overnight. Mm. And they did. Else they didn't survive. As a result, everybody is digital today. Everybody has some sort of digital marketing in their toolbox, which means for us, on the receiving side, I don't know if this is true for you, but my phone, my ringer is off 24/7. I've been trained, for better or worse, that my phone is a distraction, and it's just, I don't answer cold calls, I don't answer text messages if I don't know that. I don't care. I don't know what your inbox looks like, but my inbox, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of unread email. I'm inbox zero, forget it. I just open this and look for names I recognize, and I answer this, and everything else I just ignore. So if there are people out there that are somewhat like me, cold calling and cold emailing becomes harder and harder. And now with the rise of generative AI, everybody has been able to write mass emails, personalized. It becomes easier and easier by the day. So that stopped working. And there's this oversaturation. And somebody said, we are moving from a how economy. The buyer used to need somebody to explain to them how to solve the problem. We are moving in this noise. We are moving to a who economy. We are only paying attention to people who we know. And I think this is something that's happening right now, and that a lot of organizations are struggling with. The world is now divided into two types of people: people who know who you are, and people who don't know who you are. And cold calling and cold emailing and paid traffic and SEO and billboards on the street is communication to people who have no idea who you are. And this is becoming increasingly difficult. Versus, I call this go-to-market versus go-to-network, versus selling to people who know who you are. And let's be clear, there aren't any other people on the planet. There are only those two groups. If you sell to people who know who you are, a lot of things are different. And I think we are all discovering how this is different and how we can utilize this. I like to say, if you sell to people who don't know who you are, you need to have the perfect message. Like we were just chatting before that recording about cold calling. Famously, they say, I think this is still true. I learned this, 30 years ago. If you cold call, you have 7 seconds to explain who you are, why you're calling, what problem you're solving, how you're solving it, and why they should listen for another 30 seconds. And if you don't get that message across in 7 seconds, they hang up. And the same is true with cold email. If you don't get this across in 54 words or less, they just mark it spam and stop reading. So billboard on the street, 0.2 seconds attention span from a car driver, 0.2 seconds. What is that? 2 words that you can put on this? So you have to have the perfect message, and you have to press it in this tiny slice of attention that you get. And if you don't press it in, you're out. Mm-hmm. And social selling is totally different. Total selling, it doesn't matter how you start the conversation. Like, think about meeting the perfect prospect on a conference. Perfect title, perfect role, perfect company, perfect industry, perfect geography. Everything is perfect. You meet that person after the keynote at the buffet in the lobby from the conference hotel. Come on, it doesn't matter how you start a conversation. You can talk about the keynote, how you got here this morning, about the weather, about the quality of the coffee or the quality of the keynote. Say something. Say, Jensen. Hi, my name is Steven. Are you from your tag? You're Jensen. What do you do? Nice to meet you. You start a conversation. And then as long as you keep having this conversation and as long as you ask genuine questions, at some point that person will turn around and go like, what about you, Jordan? What is it that you do? Mm. And that's the moment where I go like, finally, thanks for asking. Let me tell you. And then you tell them, and it's always a relevant conversation if it's the perfect person.
Yeah.
So I think this is what we are figuring out. A lot of people bring their cold email playbook to LinkedIn. It's like, okay, emails are working. Nobody's reading email. I'm going to send them DMs. Please don't. Yeah. Don't. And here's the reason why. Because I did it and I did it wrong. You know, sometimes I open, there's like somebody's first contact, I don't remember. So I open the message box and I go like, oh, shit, man, I cold pitched them back in 2017. How do I get back from this? There's this message sitting. It says July 17, 2017. Hey, we are serving blah, blah, blah to companies like yours. It's, oh my God. Yeah, it sits there forever. You're just scorching your network. You're burning it to the ground, and it doesn't go away. Cold emails, like people delete them and forget, but DMs don't do that, man.
No, they don't. It's far more personal. Yeah, go, Jensen.
No, I was just gonna say I'm really happy you've said that. I'm really happy you have just said that last bit, because look, I'm on the receiving end of some of these messages. I see it every day, and you see it. The email doesn't work, so they take the same template of an email, right? Mm-hmm. It's it might have been viewed, didn't click, nothing like that on a link that might be in it. So they'll take the same email, the same layout, transfer it over to LinkedIn, and they think that is going to be the golden bullet that gets them a response.
Yeah, there is a huge misunderstanding, I think, in the industry as a whole. What social selling really is. Yeah. I was doing some research recently into obviously the number of users on LinkedIn. I think it's debatable depending on what you read, but it's around the billion mark, and within that there seems to be around 140 million users in some sort of revenue facing role, so like account exec, sales, customer success. But only 10 to 15%, I think, are using Sales Nav. Or it could be a smaller percentage are using Sales Nav, but it's believed that 10 to 15% of those revenue-facing people believe they're doing some form of advanced social selling. So there's a massive percentage of the market that isn't doing or following a method doing advanced social selling.
On that note as well, right? So I'm going to use that example. So when I joined Content.ai, someone turned around, and obviously my main way of outreach is social selling and building relationships. And someone turned around and said, well, I've got a higher social index score on LinkedIn than you. This is someone who never posts. This is someone who never engages in other people's posts or inserts themselves into network conversations. But because they're doing something, it's obviously their score is high. Then actually when you flip it and you say, and you explain it to the individual, well, actually, this is the methodology that I follow. This is my process. And you show them the difference. That's when I find it clicks. But also back to your point, Alex, I think there is a massive kind of, I don't know what to call it, but people think they know what social selling is, and they think it's just being able to send a message on a social platform. And it's actually quite scary when... Go on.
So I was going to say, with that in mind, I'd love to hear from Stephen, you know, for those that are newer to social selling, that are listening to this podcast, you know, from your perspective, you know, could you explain what social selling is to you and what you see working?
I would pick up what Jensen said. I can tell you what it's not. It's not some vanity metrics. So, you know, if somebody would say to me, I have a higher social selling index, I would respond with, great, then buy a Sales Navigator, because LinkedIn wants you to buy a Sales Navigator license. This is why they invented the social selling index. By the way, how many meetings did you generate this week from LinkedIn? Let's compare this. Because there's a simple truth out there. Impressions don't pay rent.
No.
Deals do. And the precursor to deals is a meeting. And by the way, if you want to measure something, if you really want to have a metric on LinkedIn, then the precursor for a meeting is a profile visit and not an impression. You know what an impression is? If I take my phone and I scroll through my timeline and then I scratch my nose for a second and a half and I keep, that was an impression. Why? Because I stopped scrolling for a bit here. LinkedIn counts this as an impression. So if you have 5,000 impressions, you have 5,000 noses that were scratched. As far as I'm concerned, as long as they don't turn into meetings. So the first thing that needs fixing is stop going after vanity metrics unless you want to be an influencer and, you know, you need this for self validation. I have so many followers. Fantastic. You know, sometimes, or quite often actually, I have market leaders and sales and marketing leaders that talk to me, and I look at what they and their team are doing on LinkedIn, and having a background, you know, in advertisement and go-to-market, I can tell they're burning $250K a year, burning $250,000, because there's at least 2 people running social media full-time, and then they produce all this material, and they have freelancers doing stuff, and they buy all the software. And I see high-quality content that they're blasting out, and I ask a simple question. I see what you're doing. I know how much that costs. How many meetings did you have in the last 30 days from what you're doing on LinkedIn? And more often than not, the answer is, well, in the last quarter we had 2, but both didn't close. To which I reply, let me save you $250,000. Shut down your LinkedIn account, get off LinkedIn. It doesn't work. What you're doing is cost $250,000 a year, and it doesn't work. Do something else. Or change how you do this. And when I say change how you do this, that is a segue to the number one problem that almost all B2B organizations have. I like to say, you said, you know, there's 1 billion people on LinkedIn. Yes, there's 1 billion people on LinkedIn and nobody's happy. Because most people don't get any meetings out of LinkedIn. And the reason for that is that when they try to implement this, you know, social selling, I like to call it the go-to-network motion. When they try to go to the network, they find out they don't have a network to go to. Their sellers simply don't know anyone they could be selling to. And why is that? Because they're doing LinkedIn the same way they do Insta or Facebook or what have you, by posting content. And if you just post content in single player mode, then you grow a network of organic contacts. Let me translate that. That's family and friends, buddies from high school and university, current and former co-workers, people you met on a conference 5 years ago when you were in different industries. And I like to say 47 people with noses, because that's the only thing you know about them. You added them on a slow Wednesday afternoon because LinkedIn suggested it. So this is your network. And it's a total of 412. if you're good, or 200 or something. None of those people, 80% of those people are never on LinkedIn because they think it's a job portal. But the remainder is simply, it's a Bob from high school who now works at Tesco in accounting. He's not a decision maker. You don't want to have a meeting. You didn't like him back in high school. You don't want to have a meeting with him now. It gets even worse because, Alex posts, asked Jensen and Jordan to share it. You share it. Bobby from high school sees, oh, poor Jensen has to share what Alex gave him. I'm going to give him a like. Now Bobby's brother-in-law and his mom are seeing it. It just becomes more and more organic. And that's fine if you're in B2C, if you're selling shoes or pants or skincare. That's great because everybody needs shoes and pants and skincare. Alex, man our age, needs skincare. But if you're selling some partnership management module for Salesforce, then most of your contacts don't even understand what you're talking about. You need to be very specific. And if you don't build a network in that target group, whatever you do on LinkedIn will not work.
Yeah. So I'm gonna come to you in a second, Jordan. So have a question or two ready for Stephen. But conscious of time, as we look ahead, right? We've looked back at the last 12, 18 months. Things are changing clearly, but as we look ahead for the next 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, what do you see as the biggest trends, the perhaps the biggest changes in front of salespeople, and what should they be considering?
Oh man, predicting the next 12 months has become a lot more difficult in the last 48 hours. I think we're going to see a lot of failure, and I don't mean international politics alone. I mean, we're going to see that's my prediction. I might be totally wrong, but I think we will see the total failure of AI SDRs. Mm-hmm. Why? Because people like to talk to people.
Yeah.
I happened to be in the AI space before it was cool, and I left it before it became a mass event. I was working for an AI company here in Germany till 2022. I'm aware of research by the University of Munich, and they did a simple thing. They took AI-generated text, and they took journalist-written text. It was soccer reports, football reports. And they gave it to an test audience, and they said, this is written by computer, this is written by a human being. Which one do you like more? And the human always won. Unless they didn't tell them. Then it was equal. But that was before AI became a thing. And I mean, just open LinkedIn and look at comments. You can tell AI generated comments. You can tell, and you will be, for a long time, you will be able to tell. And if I have something reaching out to me pretending to be a human, and it's not, you're burned forever.
Yeah.
And if I know it is, then I want to have a totally different type of conversation. I want it to work for me. There's actually a friend of mine has just founded a company, Peel.ai, where they offered this. You can go to a website and talk with the AI to answer all your questions before you book a call. So, we know that buyers like to educate themselves, and AI helps them, but it doesn't pretend to reach out and be an SDR. So I think we will see failure there. I think we will see the rise of AI wingman, is what I like to call it. If you need to increase, if you want to do social selling and you want to scale this, then you need to increase the amount of conversations that you keep open. Well, no common wisdom, only 3% of buyers are capable of buying right now, which means 97% of buyers are not capable of buying right now, but you want to keep this conversation going. And there is a difference between the conference hotel and selling by chat or selling by direct message. When I chat with somebody, they very often stop responding. Why? Because their baby fell off the table, because they had to do dinner, because life happened. And life is more important than this chat on LinkedIn. So you have to pick up that conversation at some point again, and you have to keep it going till they go like, and what is it that you do? Well, thanks for asking. Now I have permission. I feel like with social selling, it's a little bit like with the Me Too movement. This is not the 80s. You have to ask for permission.
Yeah.
Until somebody says, yes, please, don't pitch. Yeah. And you have to keep the conversations open on scale. And this is difficult to do if you don't have help. And AI that reminds you when to continue, with whom to continue, that compiles, pre-meeting reports and even real-time updates. Do they have any job openings that are relevant? Was there anything in the news that is relevant? Delivering the context so that you as a human have kind of superpowers talking to other humans.
Yeah.
I think this is what we're going to see.
Yeah. Jordan, you've been social selling for some time now, and you're in the trenches, as it were. What are your thoughts on how you see things evolving over the next year or two?
Yes, I think you made some really interesting points there. I think if I was to sort of summarize it, there's sort of two things. One is when something that's cut from the efficiency cloth works, we typically work it to death. We saw the same happen with email automation. Oh, we can send even more emails, and it just creates noise, as you said.
We marketers, we ruin everything.
I know, right?
We ruined fax, we ruined web, we ruined email, we ruined the phone. Just give us a tool and we're going to ruin it.
Right. Look, the same things.
Plus AI, we're going to ruin AI.
Well, AI SDR is just creating more and more noise, saturating the market even further, making it even more difficult to actually cut through. Right?
Mm.
And so the second thing, it was off the back of a conversation I was having today. The call was generated from LinkedIn, from social. This guy had a complete mistrust of salespeople generally, and it was everyone. Yeah, exactly. And that is something that we joked about, and that was actually what sort of brought him round. It was a case of massaging things along until I was invited in, and then we got on the call. Now that call's not going anywhere now because the time's not right? But what I'd like to think is he's going to be more likely to engage with my content, pushing that out to his network. Maybe he's more likely to refer someone to have a conversation with me, and if nothing else, I had an interesting 30-minute conversation. But to summarize that, one of the other things is in sales, it's constantly outbound, constantly driving. We've got the pressure. Tech companies that have VC investment, they've got crazy aggressive growth targets. That's then fed down onto the SDR. They need to send more, creating further noise. What we're talking about with social, all the activities are just inviting people closer in. That's all it is. Just inviting people closer in until, as you said, you get that. You get actually, what is it you do?
The way I like to think about this is when I meet somebody new, and be it on a conference or because I send a connection request, then in the beginning, I'm a total stranger. Nobody wants, everybody's suspicious of total strangers. Nobody wants to be pitched by a total stranger. Nobody wants even to reveal their annual goal, their problem, their challenges to a total stranger. You have this type of conversation with what I call the trusted advisor. And those are two different social positions. Total stranger, trusted advisor. So how do I travel from total stranger to trusted advisor? And I like to think about this journey by investing 3 things. Number 1, T, as in time spent together. The more time you spend with somebody, the more you become a trusted advisor. Number 2, value. Do they get value out of the time that they spend with you? And number 3, social proof. Can you provide social proof? Do other people show that, that they care about you and the value that you provide? So what does that mean in social selling? A lot of we all are social animals, so we all have a basic understanding, and this is why everybody thinks they know what social selling is, because we are social animals. So they start out, they send a connection request, and then they start out with a little bit, small talk. Hey, I saw that you're based, blah, 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 and I also went to this high school. Go Tigers. Terrible. Don't do that. And then they start moving from total stranger towards trusted advisor, but only 2-3 steps, and then bam, they pitch something, and they just blew it. It's so hard to come back from this, because now they have revealed their deck. The other side knows, oh, you don't want me, you want my money. Screw you. And you just lost all the trust and the social standing. What you should do instead, and this goes back to, we are post Me Too, you have to wait. You have to wait and travel this way till they really turn around and go like, listen, I'm having this problem. Isn't that something that you're dealing with? And now, thanks for asking. Yes, I can help you. Tell me more. So the question is, how can I deliver time, value, and social proof? Maybe not on scale, but scaled. And here is an observation, and I wonder whether you agree. I believe that time spent on my content pays into time with me. If I record a 50, if people watch the recording of what we are doing today, and they find what I'm doing, what I'm telling them is helpful, then this is value. I have Alex and you guys here. Well, that's social proof, right? And they spend, half an hour listening to this. This is time spent with me, even if I'm not there. And we could never do this before on conferences, because, I cannot send a recording of me to a conference. But I can upload a recording of me, a helpful recording of me with great social proof to LinkedIn, and have other people spend time with me and start traveling from. And if you think about this, there's a bunch of people that you've never met, but they were helpful on LinkedIn. And where you go like, yeah, I would totally ask them for advice. Time spent on their content.
Yeah. So look, we're coming towards the end. If you could leave our audience with just one action item to improve their social selling efforts, what would it be?
Send 25 connection requests per day. Like seriously, if you have a paid LinkedIn account, you can send 25 per day or 200 per week. You do this on 365 days a year. Half of them, except you're adding 5,000 people to your contact list.
And the second thing?
And the second thing is stop posting, start commenting.
Okay, like that. We're running a benchmark study, and we found that commenting alongside the humanized content has the biggest impact.
Oh yeah. I can back this up. We saw this in the data. It was one of the biggest surprises for me personally. Commenting has on big accounts. Don't try to comment on your prospects, because your prospects are not posting anything. There's nothing to comment. To take the keynote speaker from the last big conference in your space. Check if they're active on LinkedIn. They probably are. They probably have a large audience. Start checking them every day. Whenever they post, be there and comment. Commenting is the number one driver for profile visits. Profile visits are the precursor of meetings, and meetings are the precursor of deals, and deals pay rent. Comment on them, and the impact is something like 25x higher than postings. It's crazy.
Yeah, brilliant.
And if you're trying to find those people that your prospects are listening to, go and look what your prospects are commenting on. Have a look what they're engaging with, what content is interesting them, what people are talking sense to them. And you can do that by going show all posts in the activity section and hit comments. Great way to do some research and also drop some comments, as you said, Stephen.
Let me share a quick hack for the audience as well as a final giveaway.
Yeah,
if you don't know what to post about, here is a super simple hack. You go to Google. For the younger listeners, that's a website, not a voice assistant. You go to Google and say you're selling to logistics managers, and type in conferences for logistic managers. Find the conferences. Look at the last year's conference and who was the speaker and what were the topics of the keynotes, of the master classes, of the workshops. Because here's a secret. If you want to convince people to pay multiple thousands of dollars for an admission ticket, fly to a location, spend 3 days in a hotel and on dining out, you better have some workshops with stuff that interests them. So the people who are running the conference, they have already figured out what your audience is interested in. And from there, it's probably pretty easy, even if you haven't been there, if you just look at their social media posts, to understand what the workshop was about, not just the title. This is your topic list.
Brilliant. Thank you, Stephen. So where can listeners learn more about you? Where can they find you?
So first of all, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm super approachable. Just connect. Well, I'm social. And number two, myteamfluence.com. Check it out. We have a free plan. Play around with it. Let us know what you think.
Brilliant. Stephen, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, man.
It's been a pleasure. Gents and Jordan, great to have you on the show. Until next time.
Pleasure. Indeed.
Have a great rest of the week all. Bye.